Everybody, it's Justin. Welcome to Live Ask Me Anything number 103. Whoa, crazy. Sorry, I know I'm late. Let me check my watch. What happened here? This thingamabobber. I don't know what the freaking deal was, man, but it was making me really mad. I couldn't get my microphone to work. I couldn't get my computer to recognize my microphone. So anyway, I had to shut everything down and restart from scratch. I didn't even have time to go on Instagram and tell people, hey, swipe up and come to Facebook Live and ask me anything. So the Instagram peeps aren't going to get that right now. Actually, you know what? No, I won't do one live. That'd be kind of silly anyway. But yeah, I don't want to mess it up and swipe up and all that stuff. It'll take too long. It takes a couple minutes to do that. But what's up, everybody? What's up, Natalie? Welcome. You made it to a live one. Hell yeah. You get to see what this is all about. Ask me questions and stuff, and I'll answer them live. That's what I do. Kind of my thing. What's up, Judy? What's up, Laura? What's up, Cameron? What's up, Tammy? You guys are awesome. Live viewers. So this is AMA 103. Today was a busy day. Yesterday was a busy day. The day before was a busy day. Crushing podcasts, everybody. Have confirmed Kyle Kingsbury will be on the podcast. Super excited about that. Had really interesting guests with really interesting names. I had Kurt Yazigi. Yazigi. I can't remember how to say it. And then Matteo Franceschetti from 8 Sleep with the pod bed, which I'm getting. A pod is going to get shipped to my house. It's going to be awesome. I'll tell you guys all about it. And I'm injecting peptides, which is crazy. I'm doing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 injections a day. 5 injections a day. Nuts. Haven't really noticed anything different yet, except crazy vivid dreams. Like insanity vivid dreams. Like I can't tell the difference between dream and reality. Like, holy crap, full storyline, like feel like I'm living a lifetime in these dreams 2 nights in a row. So that's kind of gnarly. We're gonna see where this goes with that, but peptides are super exciting. What else we got here? Tim finally made it to a live episode. Congrats, man. What's up, Tammy? Hey, how you doing? Thingamabobber? Yeah, this thingamabobber is gonna get punched right in the face. I'll punch this microphone all day. I could take this microphone, no problemo. I got jacked up today in jiu-jitsu, man. There's some world-class wrestlers in there in this new gym that I'm at. No joke. I was getting snapped down and single legged, and it was really brutal. But anyway, yeah, okay. Hit the happy button, hit the like button, hit the love button. All right, let's get this thing on the road. Maybe these little silly intros of Justin being a complete and utter dipshit are getting to be too long here. And I got a lot of questions from you guys. Let me see. Let me get my notes up here. I got probably more questions than I can answer. I'm going to grab the ones that I think are most relevant. But what was really cool, what was awesome about you guys, I love doing this AMA this way. Like when we have these compiling lists of people just give me AMAs, you hit me with a bunch of questions today, which was great. And you hit me on all the platforms, which was great. I got emails, I got Facebook comments, I got Facebook messages. Beautiful. I love that. The more questions, the better. And if I don't get to your question, I will compile that in my list of unanswered questions, and we can hit it in another episode. So sometimes I'll leave a really good question out because I got 4 other questions that are super in line with one another. And tonight is one of those nights. We're going to kick some serious ass tonight. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff. We're going to hit a couple things right off the bat. And then these last 3 questions like really go hand in hand and are going to let you guys understand just how thick my tinfoil hat is, everybody. We're going to get to that shiz today. It's going to be excellent. Also, I was interviewed on a podcast today, a guy named Tudor, Tudor, called The Dance of Life podcast. And he just focuses on people with really great stories. And holy crap, this might be my favorite interview that I've ever had. This guy just went deep with me for literally like 2.5 hours. So you guys will get to hear me on the other end of actually being interviewed rather than being the interviewer, which you guys are quite used to on the podcast. So I'll let you know when that's live. That'll be really cool. Remember, you can ask me questions the whole time here. You can ask me questions. All right, I want to read this comment right here. Oh, hell yeah, Judy. All right, Judy says, thank you. Micronutrients are exactly what I needed. 3 weeks in and my hair is growing back, thicker and not losing near as much. Wow, so excited. Liver, chicken, and beef ribeye. Yeah, like we talked about. What's the most common thing we see with women? I'm cold. My nails are brittle. My teeth are sensitive. My hair is falling out. Again, I'm cold all the time. I'm cold. Like, no, for real. Like, I'm really cold. No, I need another blanket to watch a movie. No, like, I'm really cold. Yeah, no, I'm really, right? Exactly. Micronutrient deficiency. Hypothyroidism, micronutrient deficiency. Hair falling out, micronutrient deficiency. Cold all the time, micronutrient deficiency. Anemia, micronutrient deficiency. What are we doing here, everybody? It's that simple, right? Judy's been doing this for 3 weeks and we clean this things up. So awesome. All right, let's dig in. Question number one is a simple one that we're just going to crush because it's kind of funny. And that question is it normal to poop way less on carnivore? And the answer is, oh, yes, for sure. It's totally normal, but this goes one of two ways, right? So as you guys may have heard, Joe Rogan just did his carnivore experiment for the whole month of January and was talking about his epic diarrhea, like just crazy diarrhea. So I had the same thing. The first time I did a 6-week carnivore experience, I went strict carnivore, didn't even touch black coffee, no tea, no nothing from plants for 6 weeks. And I had exactly what Joe had, and it stayed with me for like the entire experiment, basically. I'm pretty close to carnivore now, I guess, but I don't have that same problem at all. It mellowed itself out. What I did find is I have to supplement less electrolytes if I am not eating any carbs whatsoever, which is interesting. Because when you switch to a low carb diet, I tell you to increase electrolytes, but my electrolytes were off the charts. We're talking 6-7 grams of sodium a day, which is like 12 grams of sodium chloride, right? So that'd be like 12 grams of salt. So I was crushing the salt. And then I found out that as I'm actually carnivore and I have less of these plants, this is my hypothesis, totally my hypothesis. I'm not Saladino, right? But I think that some of those plants were binding to some of those minerals, aka electrolytes, and excreting them from my body without them being absorbed. Therefore, when I went from a low carb diet to a 0 carb diet, I did still need to supplement electrolytes, but not as many. So it's making my stool quite loose. That is what most people deal with because of the additions of these fatty acids that they're taking in that they're not used to. So they might have not enough bile in their system or need digestive enzymes in the beginning. Most people go carnivore, diarrhea. Then there are other people that I've dealt with this a lot, actually. And here's the difference. For men, tends to be diarrhea. For women, tends to be less pooping when they switch to carnivore. And here's my hypothesis. Micronutrient deficiency, micronutrient deficiency, micronutrient deficiency, micronutrient deficiency, over and over and over. So here's what I think is happening, and I'm going to outline this for you with a very vivid visualization for you, everybody. Just thinking, I turned my sauna on. Yeah, my sauna is going to preheat this whole episode. Yeah, because it's cold outside. But anyway, so if you switch to a fully carnivore diet, then what I think is happening is if you have significant micronutrient deficiencies, then for the first time in a long time, you are actually absorbing nutrients. These are the most bioavailable forms of nutrients on planet Earth, animal proteins. There's no arguing this, right? Like animal meats, particularly organ meats, if you're doing a nose to tail carnivore thing, you're getting a boatload of micronutrients. It's like you're taking a bazillion multivitamins all day, every day, right? Now, if you have extreme micronutrient deficiencies, then your body's going to suck those things up like a sponge. It wants all those micronutrients big time, right? It's been at a deficit for a long time. So what happens there is then you have these people that switch to carnivore and they don't go poop for 2 or 3 days. And they're like, oh my God, this can't be good for me. I'm so constipated, blah, 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 blah. No, you're not. Medical constipation is literally like a week, multiple weeks, like literally. Actual constipation is an actual thing, and it's nothing like what we think it is in mainstream American culture. Because we've been living for the past 50, 60, 70 years, 7+ decades, that the primary macronutrient has been carbohydrates. We're taking in tremendous loads of fiber, tremendous loads of carbohydrates that the body cannot digest. We've all eaten corn and pooped out corn, right? Let's just get visual here. Fuck it. Let's go deep, right? You eat corn, you poop out corn, and you look at it in your doo-doo, okay? So think about it. There's all these carbohydrates that can't be digested. So we've gotten used to these very large boluses of poop sometimes many times a day. I know people are like, I have a fast metabolism. I poop 2 to 3 times a day. These are usually people that are genetically lean, like quite skinny, and they have a diet of fucking peanut butter and jelly 3 times a day. And they're just pooping like crazy. And I'm like, yeah, you're skinny because you're not absorbing anything. This is not good. This doesn't look good for you at age 60. Trust me, you're gonna be in big trouble, right? So what I think is happening there is that the people that are having extreme micronutrient deficiencies will think that they're constipated. If you don't go poop for 2 or 3 days, you're not actually constipated. You're just absorbing what you're eating, okay? And a lot of people, when they switch to a carnivore diet, end up eating far less than they're used to because of the satiation of the protein macronutrient, right? So let me give you this visual that I promised. The visual is they have actually tested carnivore diets in people, well, functional medicine doctors that I know personally have had this happen with their patients, where they'll have patients that have some kind of serious issue where they have a colostomy bag, like literally their colon has been removed or whatever, right? So you have somebody who has a colostomy bag and they'll be on a standard American diet or a pescatarian diet or, God forbid, a vegan diet or whatever. And this colostomy bag has to be cleaned constantly. It gets jammed, it gets clogged. There's plant material clogging up this colostomy bag like crazy. Then you have the colostomy bag of someone who switches to a carnivore diet, and it's 100% liquid all of the time. There's never any solid matter there whatsoever. What is happening? You're absorbing the food that you're eating, right? What is poop? Poop is excreting waste. W-A-S-T-E. Waste, meaning the body doesn't need this. The body can't use this. The body is excreting this because it's unnecessary, right? So there you have it. That's the secret with carnivore. And if you're worried about it, if you just are like, I haven't pooped in 2 days and I really want to poop, well, I answered this for you at the beginning of the episode with electrolyte supplementation. Just grab 3 grams of sodium, grab 3 grams of salt and 5 grams of magnesium and throw it in a cup, stir it up and drink it. And then tell me that you can't go poop. Good luck with that. Stay close to the bathroom. Okay. No secret, everybody. These things are very, very easy. Very, very easy. Okay. What else we got here? Tim, I have binge listened to every AMA. I'm about to have surgery to remove the lap band that was put in. Fuck yes, I love it. I love it. I love when I reverse people like that. Converting people every day. I'm so glad you're getting that taken. I can put you in touch with other clients who have done that as well with good success. So sorry, I interrupted your comment there. I'm about to have surgery to remove the lap band that was put in years ago with no success. They want to take gallbladder at the same time. Which AMA did you speak about gallbladder removal? Do not let them do that. Okay, now it matters on the extent of the disease of the gallbladder. Generally speaking, in my opinion, this is normally just a gluten intolerance. Literally. That's what poisons the gallbladder more than anything is a gluten intolerance, if not full-blown undiagnosed celiac disease. Remove grains from your diet. All fucking grains. Rice, oats, barley, wheat, sugar, remove all of it. Remove it from the diet, straight up. Ask them how far along the diseased gallbladder is and if they're willing to not remove the damn thing and see if you can fix this problem. For some people, they are too far gone. I'm not saying surgery is never necessary, but I'm saying most of the people that have their gallbladders removed did not have to, okay? I promise you that. But congrats, man. And you should get a custom nutrition plan from me, dude. Anyone here who's been in Clovis for a long time will tell you I'm terrible at selling and making money. But like you should work with me. Given what you're going through right now, we should totally work together. So you should probably hit me up there. Go to iamclovis.com/start to get started. iamclovis.com/start. And let's do this thing, man. Get serious about it. This is a very serious situation that you're in. Laura, I was just concerned that my kidneys and liver weren't functioning properly. No. Definitely not. They'll be functioning better than ever before. And I think I'm answering one of your questions here in a minute, and you're going to be very excited about it. Mike, what's up, peeps? What's up, dude? Well, how's the great hair? I have a whole episode about this that I did. I'll send you the AMA so we don't get into it because I got some other stuff to answer here. But yeah, so there's a whole episode that I did about gray hair. I'm pretty sure. I got to find which one it is, but we did that. All right, what else we got here? Let's see. Vitamin C and collagen. So the question is, do you need to supplement vitamin C with collagen for the collagen to be useful? I think that's what the question was hinting at. Based on the way it's worded, it's just kind of like, hey, do you need to take vitamin C with collagen? Debatable, really. So what happens, vitamin C is a requirement for synthesizing collagen, right? It really is. So that said, you don't necessarily need to, it's for synthesizing new collagen, right? So vitamin C is this tricky thing where it's the American thing of like, if some is good, then more must be better. So Carnivore MD, Paul Saladino, has been talking about this endlessly. He thinks that we need far less vitamin C than most people think. I supplement vitamin C every day, but I take Paleo Valley's essential vitamin C, which comes from whole foods. It's not a synthetic form. And I can't remember what the dose is. I'm really sorry. I wish I could remember offhand, but it's not a very high dose. I think it's like 100% of the RDA or something like that. My Paleo powder, I believe, has 50% of your RDA vitamin C because I no longer really believe in hyper dosing things. Like I used to take a shitload of supplements in the beginning of my journey. And now I've really been thinking about this more species appropriate diet and the hyper physiological doses of supplements, like just taking 10,000% of your RDA. Now the RDA is nonsense. Like the RDA is very, very low. So the RDA for vitamins is just like prevent you from getting disease. Like if you don't have enough vitamin C, you can get scurvy, right? But you need very, very little vitamin C. I think they've done clinical trials where they supplement 10 milligrams of vitamin C and prevents and reverses scurvy, right? So that's nothing. It's literally nothing. You can buy over-the-counter 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C for like $10 for like 120 capsules, right? It'll just be ascorbic acid. So Paleo Valley's Essential C, I really like. It's got a couple other things in there. I should have just had the bottle here with me so I could read you guys the ingredients, but check out Paleo Valley. And my members get a discount on all Paleo Valley products. So definitely check that out. But I like that more. That's a more like appropriate physiological dose, let's say. Like I talk about these hyperphysiological doses that would just be impossible to ever find in nature. That said, I used to supplement like 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, which is like 5 full grams. I don't think that's really necessary. I don't think that it's a negative. I don't think it's really going to hurt you. Even Saladino talks quite a bit about this, but he can't really point to like what negatives are going to happen that are going to be really gnarly or anything. If you have too much vitamin C, it's kind of like sodium. Like you just end up getting diarrhea. And what's really interesting is like, let's say you try to take 10 grams of vitamin C today, you would take that and probably get explosive diarrhea. But then like if you had the flu or some kind of like bacterial infection or nasty virus and you took 10 grams, you might not get diarrhea at all. So then you have the same argument of the micronutrient deficiency of like, well, is the body absorbing that full 10 grams of vitamin C? Is that actually happening? I don't know. Same thing goes with like intravenous vitamin C. You can take 20 grams of intravenous vitamin C and not have any real problems, but I know that Saladino has talked about he doesn't think that those high doses of intravenous vitamin C are good. I'd have to dig into that. That's a little bit deeper in biochemistry. I haven't gone too far down the vitamin C rabbit hole. But vitamin C, guys like Malcolm Kendrick, like I freaking idolize Malcolm Kendrick, Dr. Malcolm Kendrick, in terms of medical literature and research, and I'm going to be citing him here in this episode. But he's a huge fan of like 5 to 6 times the RDA of vitamin C and a couple different amino acids that I supplement every day for cardiovascular disease risk, right? To mitigate risk. And I just think he's the most brilliant guy on it. A Statin Nation is a fantastic book. And I'll be talking about that here in a minute too. What else we got here? Tim, done, gone Clovis, and 30 pounds in 30 days. Boom. Lost 30 pounds in 30 days. Pound a day. Congratulations, brother. Custom nutrition planning happening this week. Hell yeah. Can't wait to work with you, man. It's going to be great. I've been getting so many people freaking out about my cholesterol and fiber. Yeah, so many people that know a ton about nutrition, right? So many people that have studied biochemistry. So many people that understand human metabolism at a deep level, right? You know what I mean? All those people that are so upset about your cholesterol and fiber. If you're listening to this podcast on audio, you can't see the dumbass face I'm making to express the ridiculous amount of sarcasm that is oozing from my face right now as I comment on that fucking comment. Your fiber and cholesterol people, no, goodness, yeah, dinner table talk with completely confused people. The blind leading the blind, anybody? But yeah, anyway, so vitamin C, sorry, I'm losing my place here. Yes, vitamin C and collagen together, cool, totally do it. Like I love Paleo Valley's Essential C Complex. I love my Paleo Powder collagen peptides, and I also give you 50% of your daily RDA of vitamin C in Perfect Paleo Powder. So the vitamin C is already there. All your B vitamins are there, your vitamin C is there. I did all these things on purpose, everybody. I thought these things through. So the combination of vitamin C and collagen can be quite powerful for synthesizing new collagen in the body, which is the most abundant protein in the body. So sure, just take your Paleo Powder and you're getting vitamin C. If you want to add a vitamin C supplement, I highly recommend Paleo Valley's Essential C Complex. It's a great product. So killer. What else we got here? Okay, so now we're going to dig into this is kind of makes the episode run into a little bit of a theme here. So might get a little bit ranty. Let me take a sip of water. I always try to stay far away from the microphone when I take a sip of water. I'm like, nah, I don't want to gargle in your face. All right. Do cholesterol levels play a role in PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome, and endometriosis? So, short answer, I don't know. Long answer, does cholesterol play a direct role in it? Probably not. Could cholesterol be impacted downstream from the things that cause PCOS and endometriosis? Absolutely. I think so. 100%. So you are having the causality here flipped. Do I think cholesterol plays a role in PCOS and endometriosis? No, I do not. Do I think that PCOS and endometriosis, the root causes of those things, could have downstream impacts that lead to fluctuations in cholesterol numbers? Yes, absolutely. Now, I hate to say it this way, with PCOS and endometriosis drive me crazy, okay? They drive me crazy. I'm going to try to not raise my voice too much here, ladies and gentlemen, but they drive me crazy, because the medical mainstream will tell you that they don't know why this happens. There are entire organizations dedicated to this, and they all claim to not know how this happens. So I want to be gentle here, and I hate to say it this way because I know how many women struggle with this and have struggled with it for decades. It's insulin resistance. It's metabolic syndrome. It is prediabetes. It is type 2 diabetes, whatever you want to call it. It is insulin resistance. In the absence of this, you will be very hard pressed to find, I'm not going to say never because there's always outliers, but you'd be very hard pressed to find a single patient with PCOS or endometriosis who is not also dealing with insulin resistance. Some level, some degree of severity of insulin resistance, prediabetes, metabolic syndrome, okay? Now, both of these diseases, if we look at PCOS and we look at endometriosis, right? It's growth of tissue. Your tissues are made of proteins. Your proteins are made of amino acids, the building blocks of life. I've walked you guys through this a million times. These are diseases of uncontrolled tissue growth. That's it. It's literally uncontrolled tissue growth. And the mainstream medical system knows this, and they still claim, we don't know why this happens. We don't know what to do about it. Holy crap, this is crazy. So let's just break it down, okay? High insulin levels encourage the growth of cells. That's literally what insulin does. Insulin helps cells grow, right? Insulin does a lot of different things too, but it helps store glucose, which helps cells grow. It plays a role in adipose tissue and increasing body fat deposits, right? It just helps things grow. A lot of other things, but we're going to simplify it, right? Insulin is a growth hormone. Let's call insulin a growth hormone. PCOS, endometriosis, uncontrolled tissue growth. Insulin, growth hormone. The other big factors there are mTOR and sirtuins, right? So what triggers mTOR? We know that protein triggers mTOR, and everybody freaks out about this and says red meat causes cancer because it triggers mTOR. What triggers mTOR higher and for longer periods of time than protein? Carbohydrates, glucose, everybody. So spiking insulin has the most significant impact on spiking mTOR and also affects sirtuins. These are three major players that are involved in tissue growth, right? This is anabolic tissue growth, which is not good if you're dealing with something like PCOS or endometriosis, okay? So here's how PCOS happens. We have these chronically elevated insulin levels. They would call this hyperinsulinemia. But hyperinsulinemia is really an interchangeable term with insulin resistance, right? So what happens with insulin resistance is you have very, very chronically high elevated levels of insulin, which increases the effect of luteinizing hormone. Now, what happens if you increase the effect of luteinizing hormone? You're going to get the production of more androgen hormones, aka testosterone. You're going to get massive testosterone production in these females, which is responsible for these, like what I would call textbook effects of PCOS. From spiking this testosterone. It's out of control. Now, on top of this, insulin also decreases something called sex hormone binding globulin. You can test for this in your blood markers as well. But if you decrease sex hormone binding globulin, literally, which binds to sex hormones, that means you're going to have even more free testosterone floating around in the bloodstream, which can be used by the body. Again, not good for women. This is what leads to what we would call manly symptoms from PCOS, like bearded women and stuff, right? This is just massive androgen. It's just testosterone, spiking the crap out of your testosterone. But it all spawns up this ridiculously high insulin resistance, okay? So let's think about this. If it were me, right, in my opinion, from my research of everything that I've looked into, the dude who understands this better than anybody is Dr. Jason Fung. Dr. Jason Fung, who wrote the Diabetes Code, who is all about fasting, uses fasting in his own practice. If I were a female with PCOS, I would devour Jason Fung's content, and I would utilize therapeutic fasting to drop insulin levels as quickly as possible. But that's just me. You could also do something called a protein-restricted ketogenic diet. Wink, wink, spoiler alert. I'm going to talk about this in about 10 minutes. Protein-restricted ketogenic diet, which is good for a number of things. Now, again, I don't like protein-restricted diets if there is no metabolic dysfunction. I eat a shitload of protein. I think I had 45% protein or something like that today because I ran out of fats. I was pissed. Damn it. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I am not a fan of restricting protein unless it's for therapeutic reasons. A protein restricted ketogenic diet is great for a number of things, including PCOS, including endometriosis. So if I were you, I would devour everything you can from Jason Fung. I would look into therapeutic fasting. And then when you're eating, I would look into a protein restricted ketogenic diet, right? And I say all this just to tell you that PCOS is metabolic dysfunction. So that's it. So everything is a factor. Yes, it ties in and it's going to affect your cholesterol and everything, but I don't think that reverse thing of this question is, do I think cholesterol plays a role? No, I don't think so. I think nutrition mostly is the answer for this, but nutrition that specifically triggers hormones in very specific ways, right? So if we see that we have mTOR, we have insulin, we have sirtuins that are all activated, they're triggered, they play a factor in growth, and they're all triggered by different nutrients that we take in our food, right? So why wouldn't we just restrict nutrients? Actually restrict nutrients and let all these things calm the hell down. Take care of the metabolic dysfunction. You see? Why would we not do this? And then you think about it, like what spikes the crap out of insulin is glucose. Well, you guys have seen me wear continuous blood glucose monitors for months at a time and just eat Clovis and not spike the crap out of my glucose and not spike the crap out of my insulin. So if my insulin is never spiking to astronomical levels, then I'm never spiking my mTOR to astronomical levels. And if I do spike my mTOR, it might be within the first 90 minutes postprandial after eating a meal, and then it's going to go down. And then you have things like maybe you do a protein restricted ketogenic diet if you have PCOS. Again, this is someone who has this, or endometriosis. Maybe you do a protein restricted ketogenic diet and you do a 14-hour intermittent fast every day. There you have it, ladies and gents. Metabolic syndrome. Boom, right? It's not an AMA without a Justin rant. You know it. That's why people keep tuning in, right? Period talk. Yay. Oh, did you miss last week? Yeah. Okay. Sarah, you got to check out last week's, I can't remember what the name of the episode was because we covered a ton of ground, but in AMA 102, I covered like eating for your menstrual cycle. We talked a lot about that. We talked about all the different phases of the menstrual cycle, how you can eat, all these things. Now, if you just eat a standard typical Clovis diet, this will absolutely basically flatline and make it very cookie cutter for you. You know, a lot of people with standard American diet, their periods are all over the place and they can't manage anything. They can't track properly. You just need a species appropriate diet. You need Clovis. It's really that simple. But I dug deep on this last week. So check that one out. That was AMA 102. Okay, so yeah. So we're talking about PCOS and endometriosis, but if you really just think about it, in countless cases, therapeutic fasting completely reverses this, right? Completely reverses this. So let me adjust here. My screen is a little crazy right now. There we go. That's better. All right. So let's dig in. Now, these questions all kind of link in together, which is really, really cool. So the next question I have, and this is basically the same way I'm going to feel about PCOS, just not insulin resistance, but very clear reasons for what's happening, in my opinion, if you ask me. Okay. So the next question is, have you done research on mammography? Such a weird word, mammograms, right? Have you done research on mammography and thermography for women? And if so, what are your opinions? Okay, so this is a opinion that I hold that actually does get me into trouble. Gets me into trouble at dinner tables, gets me into trouble with family members, gets me into trouble with distant relatives who have had issues with this and they don't like to hear my opinion on it because nobody likes to hear that their lifestyle was responsible for anything. Nobody likes to hear this, right? Okay, so here's the thing. I believe what we call pre-screening for diseases is complete fucking nonsense. I'm waiting for like the government to kick down my door and shoot me in the face. That's really what I'm waiting for right now. But I think this pre-screening is just nonsense. It's madness. It's absolutely madness. So again, dig into the work of Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. You need to pick up a book called The Statin Nation. Now, I hesitate because The Statin Nation includes very complex biochemistry throughout 3/4 of the book. But you could just read the section about pre-screening for diseases. You could read the end section of what are his recommendations for cardiovascular disease. And I really, really think that you look into this. And then I'm going to talk about cancer here in a second. But Dr. Malcolm Kendrick digs into this, and he's one of my favorite humans of all time in nutrition research. So I took some notes on this. He says you have to ask yourself so many questions. There's so many questions to ask. When you're weighing the risk versus reward of these fancy screening technologies, right? So the first question being, are these tests even accurate? And the answer is most are not. We have nothing that is even remotely close to 100% accurate. And the trouble is they keep getting more and more and more and more sensitive as technology improves and increases, as technology accelerates, they get more and more sensitive. This is a huge problem, okay? Now, how many people without the disease does it label as disease-free? This happens. Many people are told that they have a disease when they do not have a disease. And many people are told that they're disease-free when they do, in fact, have a disease, right? So it either completely screws people or scares the holy shit out of people. Now, the other thing you have to ask is, do these tests promote or cause behavior change in people? And we know irrefutably, without a doubt, throughout all of human history, that it does not change behavior in people. People are diagnosed with diseases every day and never change a thing about their lifestyle. I've met multiple people who have died from cancer after getting cancer diagnoses, and then they still drink their vodka and smoke their cigarettes every goddamn day. We've all seen this, right? And the most important question with these pre-screening tests is, does the test itself cause harm? Now, to answer your question, mammograms use very high dose radiation, several hundred times more radiation than a single X-ray, which is already a shitload of radiation. You're getting several hundred times the amount of radiation. So much radiation in mammograms that the leading cancer experts, all of them, agree that there is a non-trivial risk, a certain level of risk that they just accept, that the machines themselves actually cause cancer. Okay? That's what we're dealing with mammograms. I need you to understand this. Okay? Now, thermography is different. There's no radiation exposure, but as far as I know, the jury's still out on this, if it can pre-screen and actually catch anything, what the accuracy of this machine is. And on top of that, most doctors won't let you do it standalone. You have to do the thermography and the mammogram. They make you do both, okay? Now, the reason I was talking about the sensitivity of these tests, because this is absolutely crazy and you need to understand this. I'm going to use an example for you. If you watch the UFC, these certain fighters keep getting pinged for doping, right? You use this supplement, you use this drug, blah, blah, blah. The thing is, most of the shit on your GNC shelves is mixed in warehouses in China that mix illegal drugs and they mix legal drugs. And they don't have the same cleaning certifications that my manufacturing uses here in the US of A with my supplements, right? I'm crazy about the certifications of, I've never used a factory that has ever had a recall on a product ever. That's how much I care about sourcing my manufacturing. But what's happening is USADA, who is the doping commission for these MMA fighters, their tests have gotten so sensitive that these guys take creatine off the shelf and there's a teeny tiny nanogram trace amount of some other thing in that creatine, and then they test positive for doping. They get kicked out of the sport for 6 months, and then there's an investigation and they find out, holy crap, sorry, our machines are too sensitive. This is what we're dealing in pre-screening right now, okay? So I need you to understand this. We all have precancerous cells in our body right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I was drunk for 10 years, okay? I can't even tell you how many precancerous cells I probably had in my body before I became Clovis, before I ate a species-appropriate diet, before I got super healthy, before I did infrared sauna and cold showers every day, before I fasted for autophagy and apoptosis, all these things. We probably have precancerous cells in our body from the time we are in our teens. So I would argue that this really early pre-screening stuff, the super early stage detection, like, oh my God, so glad we caught this when we did. I actually believe most of these are false positives. It doesn't mean that if you don't catch this, it's magically going to ravage your body and become stage 4 cancer. Holy crap, so glad we caught this so that 12 months later I don't have stage 4 cancer. That's not necessarily going to happen. The mainstream will scare the holy shit out of you and make you think that this is actually happening, right? But I will tell you right now, because I am Clovis, because I eat a species-appropriate diet, because I do things like lift weights and drink black coffee and get an infrared sauna and do cold showers, and I do some form of fasting every day, whether it's 12 hours or 16 hours, whatever I feel like doing. Every now and then I might do an extended fast, constantly triggering autophagy and apoptosis all day, every day. Everybody, autophagy every day, okay? What does that mean? That means I spend fucking 0 seconds a day wondering if I'm going to get cancer. I think about it, exactly none. Maybe when I'm like 80 because of this freaking thing and my AirPods and EMF and 5G and all this shit that we know nothing about right now. That said, I have created an environment in my body that would be very difficult for cancer cells to live in. I have a non-cancer friendly environment in my body. And I happen to hold the belief, very firmly, I might add, that cancer is a simple metabolic disease. Cancer cells feed on glucose, literally, okay? So if you have any concerns about cancer whatsoever, I've said this before in AMAs and I'm gonna scream it from the rooftops forever. If you have any concerns about cancer whatsoever, if you have been touched by the disease personally in any way whatsoever in your own life, and you have not read front to back the book Tripping Over the Truth, which is all about the metabolic theory of cancer, which was actually proven in the fucking 70s, and we still pretend that it wasn't. It's ridiculous. If you haven't read that book and you're concerned about cancer, I have nothing else to say to you. Come back to me after you read the book, right? So you are putting yourself fully at the mercy of the mainstream medical system, what I call the money printing machine that is cancer treatment in America. It's just like type 2 diabetes. It is simply a money printing machine. So let me summarize this for you. You will learn this if you read Tripping Over the Truth. There's a treatment protocol that is clinically proven to be as effective, if not more effective, than traditional chemotherapy at treating cancer. This is, you guessed it, from endometriosis and PCOS, a protein-restricted ketogenic diet plus hyperbaric oxygen treatment. That's it. Seriously. Protein-restricted ketogenic diet plus hyperbaric oxygen treatments. Whoa, how come you didn't know that? Well, because nobody can make money at this. Why? Because even if you don't have insurance, you might pay $250 out of pocket for a hyperbaric oxygen treatment. Newly approved cancer drugs average about $10,000 per month. Do you see what I see? $10,000 per month, $250 for a treatment. Now, the difference being, when you walk into a chemotherapy treatment, you walk out in way worse shape than when you walked in. You walk out super messed up. It is poison. There is no chemotherapy treatment which can differentiate and only kill bad cells. It will kill healthy tissues in your body, guaranteed. Protein-restricted ketogenic diet and hyperbaric oxygen treatment will not. So it's the only treatment for cancer in which you walk out of the building healthier than when you walked in. This is absolute madness, everybody. So I need you to understand, really think about the risk versus reward. I think this pre-screening stuff is out of control. It's nonsense. The early detection screenings to prevent cancer. You know how you prevent cancer? You live your life appropriately to prevent cancer. It's truly that simple. Nothing pisses me off more than these multi-bazillion dollar campaigns to quote unquote raise awareness for cancer, where what you're doing is putting pink Reebok sneakers on Tom Brady, and NFL players are running around with these multi-million dollar campaigns to wear pink to raise awareness for cancer. Do you think any human being in the world needs to have their awareness of cancer raised? It's one of the #1 killers of human beings in the world. I'm aware of it. Tom Brady wearing pink cleats doesn't do shit for my cancer awareness. How about we take those multi-countless millions of dollars wasted every year on fucking pink ribbons, and we actually give people hyperbaric oxygen treatments, and we actually give people health coaches who are well trained in how to use a protein-restricted ketogenic diet in the treatment of cancer, and then those people, we pay for that. Let's pay for that. But since cancer is a money printing machine, cancer awareness is marketing. Cancer treatment is the business. Cancer marketing generates leads and feeds new customers into the business. This is irrefutable, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you right now, this is it. This is what happens. It's absolute insanity, okay? So that's my opinion on the technology for mammography and thermography. Not a fan, okay? Just be Clovis. Just be Clovis. Eat a species-appropriate diet. Exercise like a little. 15 minutes a day. I don't know. Go for walks. Buy an infrared sauna. Infrared sauna is a shitload cheaper than chemotherapy, right? I do 20 minutes a day in my infrared sauna. Autophagy, everybody. Killing precancerous cells. killing weak cells that I don't need in my body. Autophagy, inducing autophagy. Lift heavy shit like once a week. Take cold showers. Don't eat a bunch of sugar, right? That's it. So that's the best prevention. So now I'm going to go into this next question, then I'm going to open this up for questions from you guys. So I'll kind of hammer this out real quick. We're talking about this prevention and all these things. We're talking about chronic disease, talk a little bit about heart disease, talk about PCOS, endometriosis, a little bit about cholesterol, talking about cancer. Here's this hilarious question that I love. The question: the coronavirus is nothing more than a variation of the flu, right? And the mainstream media is more concerned with ratings, and that's why they're making it seem like it's the big, nasty, scary thing. Okay, I'm going to touch on that question in a minute. I'm going to touch on the question right now, but in a different way. Because I actually think the coronavirus is far worse than the media knows, and I'm going to tell you why I know that. Because now you get into some Illuminati shit and you get to enter Justin's world for a minute, because I have some very legit connections with this. I'm being dead serious right now. I'm not making a joke. So first things first, let me tell you that the coronavirus has reported about 2,500 deaths since December. That many people, 2,500, die in America every fucking day from heart disease. Every single day. What? 2,500 people have died since December. And this is a massive epidemic, global changing, stock market crashing, media news, propaganda insanity. 2,500 people have died since December. That many people die every day from heart disease. And this is just one of the top causes of death from chronic disease, which are all chronic diseases, mind you. 40,000 Americans die a month due to chronic disease. 40,000 Americans die in a single month from chronic disease, all linked to obesity. And somehow the coronavirus stops the world dead in its tracks with an average of 800 deaths per month since we first heard it in the news cycle. What are we talking about here? Okay? So let's stay with this chronic disease thread. I want you guys to understand why I'm freaking out about this so much. Let's stay with the chronic disease thread. What's the common thread in this episode? Question: PCOS. What causes it? Does cholesterol cause it? How do I prevent it? How do we cure it? Well, the same way we would prevent it is the same way we would cure it, which is literally eating correctly, a species-appropriate diet, and lifestyle. There you go. Cancer. How do we prevent it? How do you feel about mammograms? How do you feel about thermography? How do you feel about early stage detection and pre-screening? How can we prevent cancer? Well, not by catching it earlier, I assure you, because you still have cancer, or arguably you don't, because we all have precancerous cells, but you prevent it by eating correctly, a species-appropriate diet and lifestyle. There you go. Well, that was easy. Good night, everybody. What are we doing here? Now, a few things you should know about coronavirus. I'm going to get serious with you here for a second, then we're going to grab some questions. So I had a very serious conversation with my family members a few weeks ago because, as you guys know, I kind of am into personal finance and entrepreneurship and investing and all these things. I have been told some very serious shit behind the scenes. Again, I hope the government doesn't kick down my door and shoot me in the face. In this case, it would be the Chinese government that would kick down my door and shoot me in the face. But I'm lucky enough to have really super high level connections to some very, very, very wealthy people. The kind of wealth that you can't imagine in your mind. It's impossible to wrap your brain around. And some very successful wealth managers who literally manage the wealths of those crazy rich people for a living. And they have lots and lots of connections that have told me behind the scenes. And I later had this actually shown to me, which I still am not sure how to wrap my head around, but there's some video footage from the dark web, ladies and gentlemen. And these guys seem to think that China might actually be burning bodies in mass graves and significantly underreporting numbers. And I actually know people that live in China. I know people that have lived in China in the past for long periods of time, like decades or multiple decades. And China is notorious for this, for underreporting problems. So even though the American mainstream is really thirsty for bad news and thirsty for fear mongering, that doesn't mean that China is giving real numbers out. So what I'm saying with the investment thing is this is also why I reached out to my family weeks ago and advised that they maybe pull some stocks and convert them to cash in the short term while we wait and see what happens with the coronavirus, because I thought the coronavirus was going to have a very negative impact on the stock market. I even suggested that they short the S&P 500 in the short term because of a coming crash for the coronavirus. And this was weeks ago. And lo and behold, we are now on 2 straight days of a stock market bloodbath, which is very interesting, which also means you can get some really cool stocks right now at very cheap prices, the cheapest prices that they've been in, that they've been at for 5+ years, 10+ years in some cases. So don't be afraid if you're an investor. I don't know if you guys are an investor, but just letting you know, this coronavirus thing is no joke. It's really no joke. But I don't pretend to know the ins and outs of the actual virus itself. I don't know if it's really just a flu virus. I really don't know. I honestly have not looked into it much. I'm quite good at research. So if I do dig into it and grab an answer for you, I will come back with that. But okay, all that talk out of the way, I'm still far, far more concerned with the 40,000 plus Americans that die every month from chronic disease. Let's just talk about that, everybody. Madness, right? That's AMA 103, everybody. Let's dig into some cool questions here. Awesome. I'll go back and watch. Sarah, yes, definitely do. Thank you so much. I would never know how to say that name spelling. I'm sorry. Having a physical tomorrow. What blood test should I get? So go to the Clovis Academy, facebook.com/groups/Clovis Academy, because I've covered this a bazillion times. There's literally a post that went up like 2 days ago. That's my full list of blood work. Off the top of my head, it's a full NMR lipid profile, a comprehensive metabolic panel I would do, which must include fasted insulin and fasted blood glucose. I would also like to see a full thyroid panel that includes free T3 and reverse T3. I would like to see inflammation markers, including C-reactive protein and homocysteine. That's about it. That's a good baseline of blood work. But go to the Clovis Academy and search for this, like just search blood work or whatever in the search bar, because like people have taken screenshots, and I have like an actual little document of me typing up comments of like, I have an actual list of the blood work there. But that's what I would start with, what I just said. So you're probably gonna have to go back and listen to this again, rewind it, and I'll definitely put that list in the show notes as well. So these show notes will be at clovis.show sometime tomorrow. And yeah, and I'll have the full blood work there for you. But yeah, full NMR lipid profile, comprehensive metabolic panel that includes Lp(a), fasted insulin, fasted blood glucose, and all of your C-reactive protein and homocysteine, your inflammatory markers, full thyroid panel with reverse T3 and free T3. God, I can't even remember what else I said. I don't know. But I have a full list somewhere. That's fantastic. All right. What else we got? Yep. And scare equals stress, which leads to inflammation and disease. Very true. Stress is a huge factor in these things. What else we got? Just like the coronavirus. Yes, we're digging into the coronavirus. Love it. You are so funny, so full of energy tonight. Thank you. I'm having fun tonight. I'm on fire from my interview. Spent a lot of time in front of the screen. The last 3 days, good Lord. It's been like 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. of just nonstop. It's been crazy, crazy. My eyes actually hurt. I usually wear my blue blockers during the day, but I don't want to wear them on AMAs because they're super reflective. I want to get a hyperbaric chamber. All of NFL players use them. Yes, there's a reason why the peak performance humans in the world use these things, and us lowly, obese, average Americans are just getting IV therapy, chemotherapy, and murdering us while the athletes have had it figured out forever. Ridiculous, right? Louder for the people in the back. Yeah. Multiple documents expose this too. Yes, this is the other thing to think about, is literally none of what I just told you is a secret. None of it. None of it is a secret. None of it whatsoever. Wide open. Wide open. Out in the open. It is a money farm. Cancer is a money farm. The metabolic theory of cancer was literally introduced to us in the 1970s. And it was like replicated and proven over and over and over and over. And then the American Cancer Association was like, nah, let's go with this one. There you have it. It's the same way they chose the Ansel Keys fat causes heart disease hypothesis instead of sugar causes heart disease. Literally, these organizations just make a choice and run with it. It's ridiculous. This is not hidden stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Not a secret. Genie. All right, cool. It should be spelled Genie. I'm a genie in a bottle, baby. I don't remember the words of that song. What else we got? How long after eating should you wait before getting in the sauna? I'm not worried about that at all, really. I don't give it much thought. There's probably some optimal number or whatever. I tend to go in the sauna post-workout, which means I probably haven't eaten for quite some time. So generally speaking, I use the sauna for post-workout recovery. So let's say I do like really intense kettlebell workout with some on body weight demand training, right? So I just crush myself. For today, like I trained almost 2 hours of jujitsu today. So when I came home, I had just a little protein shake. That was it. Just literally just protein, water. And then I just sat in the sauna for 20 minutes. Like that's my recovery. But I guess I've never really eaten like a giant meal and then sat in the sauna. But I don't really know. I wonder. Yeah. But I don't think it's a huge deal. I think you'll be totally fine either way. There are also some people I know that get in a sauna and drink electrolytes throughout, which actually supplementing electrolytes will actually let the body release more hydration while you're in the sauna, which is the way it's been explained to me by people like Dr. Anthony J, that it's like if you're actually supplementing electrolytes and hyperhydrating prior to getting in the sauna, you might actually sweat more and release more toxins, which is really interesting. Interesting stuff. Have you talked about heavy metals like mercury? Yes, I have quite a bit. We've talked about heavy metals in the past. I think you should absolutely, that's another thing you get in blood work. It's very easy to test heavy metals. So heavy metals, in my opinion, go back to the same way I would treat like estrogenation stuff, like looking for estrogenics in your environment. So I would try to limit them as much as possible. And I really do think that we're dealing with a significant problem in terms of mercury in very large fish, things like tuna, things like that. Wild caught salmon, you tend to be okay with, assuming that you're sourcing it correctly. There's a lot of weirdness that goes on with wild caught salmon though. There are some wild caught salmon that is literally caught outside of China, frozen, shipped to China, refrozen, and then shipped to America. There's so much crazy shit that goes on. Dr. Hyman, Mark Hyman just had a guy on his podcast talking all about wild caught fish. You should look into that. But heavy metals are a real problem in fish and seafood. So that's why I tend to stick to really small fish. Like I eat sardines or I eat oysters, really like those. Tricky things. I once was testing positive for lead and couldn't figure out why, because my house is like toxin free and I have a whole house filtration system on my water. And then I have an additional charcoal water filter built into the refrigerator for all my drinking water and all these things. And it turned out that I was having lead in my blood because I was still working at the dueling piano bar downtown. And when I would get just water, I'd go on stage to get water. The bartenders would just give me water from the gun on the bar. And sure enough, the water was contaminated with lead and I was having lead in my system. And then people get into things like chelation using chlorella or spirulina. I also think they have done tests where they'll take something that looks similar to like a nicotine patch, stick it to a human, put that human in an infrared sauna. Infrared saunas are far superior for detoxing, in my opinion, than a traditional like Finnish sauna. So Dr. Anthony J told me about this as well. They'll put these stickers on people, have them sit in the infrared sauna, then they test these patches, these sticky patches, for contaminants like heavy metals, BPA, plastic, phthalates, all these different things that are estrogenic, or they'll test for these metal compounds. And sure as shit, these things are just full of them. So those sticky pads are full of them. So you know that you definitely want to detox these things for sure. So yeah, a lot of people use chlorella and spirulina. I highly recommend infrared saunas. Infrared saunas are expensive. I can get you a deal on infrared saunas for sure. The same brand that I have, Clearlight, but it's still going to run you several $1,000s. My Clearlight sauna cost me $4,000. So it's an investment, but it's a lot cheaper than chemotherapy. So yeah, I've talked a little bit about heavy metals in the past. I want to know if 1,000 people in this group really have sauna or infrared sauna. Very costly. Damn. Oh, no. Very, very few people have infrared saunas. I think one member of Clovis just reached out to me and I got them in touch with the right person to get a discount on infrared sauna. I think they bought one. But yeah, very, very few people. I'm one of very few humans that I know that owns an infrared sauna because they're so cost prohibitive. My dad has one. We bought them together. But yeah, what else we got here? Mike Seagro, I love my raw tuna. Stay away from swordfish, sharks, sometimes cod. Tuna is terrible if you're looking at mercury, bro. There's a giant fish. The bigger the fish is, the worse. I would say tuna is one of the biggest offenders for mercury, for sure. So you got to think long and hard about that. Make that decision, and you might want to test for mercury. Definitely test for mercury. Tilapia is like not even a real fish, so that one's just off the table. That's a crazy mutant thing. But yeah, if you're eating raw tuna, especially if you're eating raw tuna every day, let's say, you should go get tested, bro. Definitely get tested and see. It might not be a problem. If it's not a problem, cool, keep doing your thing. But you might want to get tested there. Yeah, I mean, if you're staying away from swordfish, there's no reason you shouldn't be staying away from tuna. Tuna is massive, giant fish, right? But anyway, you do have to be careful with seafood. 100%. It's a bummer, but you got to be careful with seafood. I eat wild caught salmon, maybe like once a week, probably once a week. I eat sardines a lot, wild caught sardines. And then people say, well, they're canned sardines and there's going to be BPA in the cans. I'm like, yeah, I fucking know, right? There's only so much we can do in 2020 America, which is just a horrible environment. I talked about that. So today, this Dance of Life podcast I was on is not a nutrition podcast. It's just like a life podcast. So he's really peppering me with nutrition questions and trying to get deep into these things. And guys, we live in a really unnatural environment, a really contaminated environment. They test mammals in the ocean and their brains have glyphosate in them. The tissue in their brains has glyphosate in them from soil runoff from monocrops, right? It's really demented how bad we've gotten in this environment. We just have to deal with it, right? And we have to hope that we come up with ways to mitigate these things. So the question becomes, here's the real question. And this is where I get pissy with people, right? I'm going to end this episode with tough love, Justin. If you are coming to me to ask me what you should do about heavy metals, if you are coming to me to ask me what tests you should get, if you are coming to me to ask me how you should prevent cancer, pre-screening, all these things, if you're coming to me with all these nitty-gritty nuanced health things that you heard on some podcast or read in some book, and you're asking me, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? And you are not Clovis, I don't know what to tell you. Okay? You got to understand this. Yes, heavy metal toxicity is important. Right? Of course it is. Blood work is important. Yes, of course it is. Exercise is important. Yes, of course it is. Is your house water filtered is important. Yes, of course it is. But guess what? Most people are not eating Clovis. They're not eating a species-appropriate diet. They're eating a bunch of bullshit that they shouldn't eat. They're sedentary as fuck. They're not doing what they're supposed to do, and then they want to chime in and have these conversations because it makes them feel smart and intelligent. Hey, I want to talk about the nitty-gritty details of nutrition when I literally have none of it in order yet, right? I want to talk about the last 1% that you need to figure out on your way to 100% optimal health, even though the first 95% I just refuse to do. There's tough love, Justin, for you, right? I don't worry about the same things other people worry about because I know my bases are covered. That's it. Like me doing infrared sauna, me doing cold showers, me doing all that stuff, that's like the last 1%, everybody. Me training jujitsu, me swinging kettlebells, me looking into what supplements I should take for cardiovascular risk, me getting genetics testing done, me doing biohacking or getting a fancy sleep bed that helps me sleep better. This is all top level performance type shit. If you haven't covered the first 95%, I don't want to talk to you about these things. I just don't. Understand that. Get your shit together before you want to have big boy conversations with me. Okay? We got to have the little boy conversations first, which is put down the fucking Coca-Cola. Okay? Put your little juice box down, Jimmy. Settle down. I'm going to pat you on the head until we get to that 99% that you're talking about down the road. Don't just start skipping steps and optimizing for optimal health, right? This happens to me all the time. Clients write to me all the time that are 30+% body fat. And they want to talk to me about like all these things that they can do to optimize their health and wellness. I'm like, you have one job. You literally have one job right now. One job. I don't want to hear about anything else until that one job of correcting your body fat obese problem is handled. That's the one thing we're going to talk about. You have no other goals. That's it. You have no other goals until this is handled. So understand, guys, I'm a super nerd. I love talking about this shit. I love the nitty gritty details. I love talking about PCOS and endometriosis. I love talking about Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. And I love talking about Paul Saladino and the things he says on his podcast and his new book's out, which is super dope. My blood glucose monitor readings are actually in this book. He took my CGM tests, my carbohydrate testing, and put it in the book, right? So super cool. I love this nerdy stuff. I love having nerdy podcasts. But if you're not covering all the bases, if you're like sitting at home and you're like, well, Justin's not here watching me, so I'm just going to eat this ice cream and eat this muscadine red wine, wash it down while I'm watching Netflix, and then tomorrow I'm going to ask him about blood work. Okay, cool. We can play that game. We can play that game and we could do that, right? That doesn't impact me negatively. I get to keep making great content and talking like a nerd, right? Super cool. It's fun for me. But understand, this is what you have to do. Got to cover the 95% first. I love you to death. I want you to be super happy. I don't care what you look like naked. I want to remove the obstacles of health and wellness so you can live your best life. Understand that. My goal for you isn't your best optimal health. My goal for you is your best fucking life. How do you live your best life? And an awful lot of you can't live your best life because you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see. And it makes you not like yourself. And it makes your dreams small. And it makes you have a scarcity mindset. And you can't think abundantly when you don't like the way you look and you secretly feel bad and insecure about yourself. Good luck living the life that you want to live, living your best life. So I'm trying to help you guys control these things, get them under control, get them out of the way as obstacles. But yeah, anyway, sorry, that was kind of a rant. But anytime we get into blood work and all these little nitty gritty detail things, it's like, yeah, sure. But are you covering the rest, right? Are you covering the rest? It's crazy. Screw the cold shower. I'm good with 99%. You better stop trying to push my buttons on cold showers. You don't want me talking about cold showers. Don't trigger me, Amanda. How dare you? I don't like that game. It's a rough ride. Which game? I can't remember what I said half the time. But anyway, this is AMA number 103. That's crazy. I cannot believe we had this many. It still feels super weird that the AMAs are in triple digits. So I don't know if you guys have any more questions. You got any more questions for me tonight? Want to drop a last minute question? I'll hang here for a minute. But yeah, the Carnivore code book is super cool. I really like it. And got some cool guests coming up on the podcast. I hope you guys listen to Matteo Franceschetti. That was a really great podcast. I loved it. Sleep is so critically important, ridiculously important. Oh, I had a question about that too, about the pod by 8 Sleep, if it emits EMF. And yeah, it does. So the pod has to be connected to Wi-Fi to work correctly. So I know some people are kind of crazy about that, like shutting down EMF. Like I sleep with my phone in airplane mode. My router is on the other side of my house. So my router is purposefully on the other side of my house. My house is 1,000 square feet. It's not big, right? So my router's on the other side of the house. I sleep with my phone in airplane mode. But that said, I don't know enough about EMF and sleep quality to be like astronomically concerned about it. And I don't think anybody knows enough about it right now. Mercola has a new book out about EMF and 5G that I'm going to read. And he claims that there is just ridiculously sound science behind this. What would be cool is to see the pod do an upgrade where you could maybe sleep with the bed in airplane mode. And then when you're out of the room, turn it on and let it sync and connect the data and everything. That would be really cool. The good news about the pod is it works like a Tesla. So if you buy a Tesla and the car is upgraded, like they literally grab an iPad and they go beep and upgrade the firmware in your car and your car gets a new update, right? It's really crazy. That's what's beautiful about Teslas. And the pod is the same way. You buy the pod mattress once, and as the firmware and software updates, the updates just get pushed to your device. You don't need to buy a new device. So it's not the same as like, oh, my phone is obsolete. I need a new phone, right? It doesn't work like that. So that's kind of cool. I'm assuming that they're probably going to tackle this because so many people care about EMF. It's kind of a growing thing, growing awareness. It's like cancer, growing awareness. But yeah, so the EMF thing, hopefully they come with a software or firmware update in the future that allows you to sleep with the bed in some kind of airplane mode. That'd be a really, really great feature to have. So we shall see. But as of right now, yeah, it probably does EMF. Oh, Netflix and blood work game. Yeah, you don't want to play that game. You don't want to play that game. And you certainly don't want to see what you're going to see in your blood if you're playing the ice cream, muscadine wine Netflix game. Blood work won't look great. All right, guys, 103. I asked earlier, I didn't hear an answer, but I did get a call earlier, so not sure if you answered. I was curious if you have good deodorant recommendations. I really like Native. Native deodorant is probably my favorite. Some people use Primal Pit Paste. There's a bunch of them, but my personal favorite that I've used is Native for sure. I really like Native. So check that out. There's a lot of other deodorants that are like natural, but they just don't work. They really don't work well. That said, I don't wear deodorant. You might catch me wearing deodorant, I don't know, once a month or something. If I'm like, have some reason that I think I'm going to need it, or like a trade show or something, if I'm going to be like on my feet for 9 to 12 hours a day or something. But generally speaking, 9 days out of 10, probably 25 days out of 30. I don't even know how to say it, but like I don't generally wear deodorant, but I do have Native deodorant. I travel with Native deodorant and things like that. So in case I ever need it for whatever reason, but like a Native deodorant stick will last me months and months. So yeah, that's a good one. Anyway, AMA 103. Thanks everybody for hanging out. I'm going to go chill in the infrared sauna for a little bit and then get my butt in bed. Sounds good to me. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for the great questions. I hope this was super helpful. I'll see you tomorrow in the Facebook groups. If you want to work with me, just go to iamclovis.com/start. Do it right now and go buy some cheap stocks. Go invest. Okay. Dividend Aristocrats. Google it. Dig in there. I got you. Bye-bye.